Hi, my name is Katherine Gloston, and this is my Module 3 presentation on Future Ready Schools. So, our activities for today include a brief discussion on what is Future Ready Schools and their framework, the 7 gears and collaborative leadership, the best practices, implications, and finally, our references and thanks. So, first stop is Future Ready Schools. So, Future Ready Schools, which you'll see abbreviated as FRS, believes that every child, regardless of zip code or family income, deserves access to a personalized, student centered learning environment, a robust learning experience that prepares students for an increasingly technology driven workforce and world, research based digital learning strategies, learning that taps into passions and interests, that deeper engagement, and a clear pathway to post secondary success through which every child achieves his or her potential. So, what is the Future Ready Schools framework? So, what happened is that the Future Ready Schools, which is a project that was implemented by the Elite Alliance for Excellent Education, they developed this framework. And the framework, which is research based, it's a robust structure for digital learning, visioning, planning, and implementation focused on student centered learning. And it emphasizes collaborative leadership and creating an innovative school culture. So here's an illustration of the actual framework that was developed by Future Ready Schools. And in the center, you'll notice that it has personalized student learning. Now, many of us, we've kind of already learned about personalized student learning, but it's just basically an approach that's designed to help all students develop a set of skills collectively known as the deeper learning competencies. And then outside those that circle in the middle, you have your 7 gears. And we're going to break down those gears. And then you notice that the next inside area deals with having a vision, planning, implementing, assess, and then refine. And then finally, you'll see collaborative leadership, which encompasses everything. So you'll notice that everything involves some type of collaborative leadership. So, we're going to discuss each one of these gears and some takeaways that I got as going through them. So, the first one, like I said, was curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And in this gear, teachers customize instruction, content, and assessment on a student to student basis to ensure mastery. So, some of the things that I liked about this, as far as some strategies, was selecting new materials and resources carefully to ensure alignment with program goals and capacity for support. And so, what happens is in curriculum instruction and assessment, we are dealt we're dealing with being able to provide uh, this content that creates this deep thinking or deep understanding. And we want to make sure that they're actually mastering those skills. So we need to make sure that we're implementing the correct curriculum, that we are, as far as our instruction, that is customized not only to our whole class, but also on an individual basis, because some students are different than others. And then making sure that you are assessing and using that data. So basically making sure that whatever assessments you use is data driven. The next gear is personalized professional learning. And here it states that through technology and digital learning, educators assess professional resources and learning opportunities that can lead to improvements in their students' academic success. Some strategies that one can use is to embrace non traditional forms of professional development. Or I like to say, don't be afraid to take advantage of the freebies. All right. So, and this one, we have our professional developments, and majority of the time, we are set up with professional developments that may be dealing with our standards, that may be dealing with bullying, or how to unpack the standards or planning. But we also need to think about our professional development as far as with technology and digital learning. And so in this case, we need to be able to make sure that our teachers are getting the support that they need, to make sure that they are, they feel comfortable with attending professional developments. But also, when we say embrace the non-traditional, basically, you know, it's not always a face-to-face professional development. It might be an online professional development, virtual, or there are, podcasts and different things, the webinars that are already pre-recorded. So it may not be that one that you sit face-to-face with, but we do need to acknowledge those as very good resources. And many of them can be free. So don't be afraid to take advantage of the freebies. Next one is budget and resources. So in this one, we have our districts, they align their budgets with personalized learning priorities, including ongoing support for quality technology and infrastructure. So some good strategies is to reduce or cut ineffective programs, and also to take advantage of existing state and federal waivers. I think reduce and cut ineffective programs is kind of cut and dry. You know that your budget, you need, a certain number of Chromebooks or a certain number of tablets. However, you're spending more of your money on unnecessary cleaning or cutting grass, or whatever the case may be, and you're paying a whole lot more, wherein you can actually cut out some of those things that you don't need or programs that you're no longer using. So you can cut those programs, or if they're ineffective programs, they're not assisting with that ongoing knowledge that the kids need, then cut those programs off. And there are some waivers out there for free funds that can either give you additional funds or it can help free up some funds. So making sure that you are able to uh, financially support your technology, and your digital learning. Then we have community partnership. So in this gear, schools and districts partner with local businesses and industries to advance the school's learning goals. How can you do that? Cultivate your online communities, build relationships with local businesses, uh, and develop these off campus learning opportunities. For instance, uh, during the pandemic, we noticed that Cox and other internet providers were providing, uh, free internet. Build those relationships with those businesses so that your students can get that assistance that they need off campus. So those are some different things that can help with the community partnership. And you, by reaching out, you're building this relationship and you're communicating. So that helps and it ensures that your students are getting what they need so that they can reach their goals. Then we have data and privacy. So here, districts and schools establish policies and procedures for collecting, analyzing, storing, and reporting student data that ensures student privacy and data security. Here, you have a few things you should do. One, remember to support your teachers. So provide those ongoing high quality training for teachers so that they know how to use that data and making sure that that data is secured. All right. How do they collect it? How do they analyze it? Where do you put it at once you're finished with it? And also making sure that they properly report it and it's kept confidential. Creating data teams is another thing. So you can create a data team. It might be organized by grade level, it might be organized by subjects, but they're working together to make sure that all of these procedures for and policies for your data and the privacy of that data is maintained. Next gear is robust infrastructure. And here, teachers embrace technology and online platforms to assess tools, resources, data, and systems necessary to tailor student learning. And so, some strategies you can use is to pursue creative, community driven solutions for expanding internet access and inform low income families of available subsidies. So, if you are informing those low income families, what happens is it can offset some of those internet expenses. Like I said earlier, when we were talking about like situations with Cox and Verizon and different cell phone providers that were providing that $10 internet or free internet, let those families know of those availabilities so that that doesn't impact their ability to learn. Also, just make sure that you're pursuing creative community driven solutions for expanding internet access. You may have to be a little creative. They talk about, hey, you can add hotspot for $10, or whatever the case may be, but making sure that you are embracing your technology and you have access to those tools to help those students maintain that learning that they need to. Then the last gear is use of space and time. So, here through technology and a new approach to classroom structure, teachers and schools leverage in school and out of school time to meet the needs of individual learners. One strategy, develop a flexible schedule. Another one, be creative with school space and staff members' time. So, one of the things, like I said, is when you develop a flexible schedule. You may adopt a schedule that allows for students to do some things off campus, or they may have some activities that they can do during regular school hours. You're flexible, all right. But whatever it is, it's meeting the needs of those individual learners. You're going to be creative with your school space and staff members' time. You may notice you have a whole classroom where you can say, okay, hey, I can rearrange this classroom and I can do some different, things with this. This can be a tech room, or maybe in your own classroom. Let me say, okay, I'm going to use some of my space and I'm going to do some different strategies. So I may have, a space over here for math and, intervention. And then I may have some quiet space. I may have some tech time. What and I'm just going to use my space to make sure that I'm helping those students that need that individual time, so I can meet the needs of my individual learners. And as far as with time, making sure that we are utilizing our teachers' time. So teachers, they have, you know, make sure that you're using up that face-to-face time, but then also, making sure that you can maybe implement something off campus, a video or whatever the case may be, or pre-recorded lesson that they have, and posting that up. So just making sure you use that space and that time efficiently. Then our all-around gear um, is collaborative leadership. Now, in collaborative leadership, there's a few things that you should do. One, apply equity focused innovative approaches. Then you need to empower to think and act with innovation. You're also going to embrace curricular and instructional enhancements and believe in districts' shared forward thinking vision. Those are four big areas. Okay, so I'm going to explain. So, here, collaborative leadership, it requires leaders at all levels to apply this equity focused approach. All right. You have to be empowered to think and act with innovation. You want to use that mind. You want to be willing to embrace the curricular and instructional enhancements as learning needs evolve and culture demands. Embrace your curriculum. Embrace the different instructions, the enhancements that's done to help instruct. You may need to make some changes, but you need to be open to those changes. And then you definitely need to believe in the vision. If you believe that it's achievable, then it's achievable. But if you believe that it's going to fail, then most likely it fails. So making sure that you collaborate, is definitely something that you do in all areas. All seven of your gears require collaboration with your leadership team. So, no matter what you're doing, if you're working together and you're focused, then you shall succeed. So, let's talk about some best practices in using FRS tools to transition to digital learning. So, one of the case studies was by the Bristol Warren School District, and I'll be really brief with this one. They focused on two areas: collaborative leadership and personalized professional learning. They started off with defining what was personalization. That was their first step. And then from there, what they did was is they started doing some steps to kind of get them a to transition to the digital learning. And so what they did was they transitioned to G Suite for Education, which a lot of us use, Google Classroom, Jamboard, all that different stuff that comes along with it. And then after that, they revised the work of its digital learning team. So they had a digital learning team, but what they did was they wanted to shift to a more personalized student learning. So they actually worked on, that digital learning team and made sure that they developed some action research cycles that actually focused on the impact of digital learning strategies. Then they worked on collecting data, which would help identify practices for effective use of technology. So as they, did their research, they identified these practices that would actually help them use the technology to make sure that thinking was there, student thinking. And so those practices that they were using, that they found that worked for effective use of technology, those then drove them to say, okay, well, we need our teachers to, be proficient in this skill. So that's how they were able to know what professional development opportunities they needed to have available for teachers. So then they finally developed a future ready plan, which consisted of 4 focus areas because they said they knew they weren't going to be able to accomplish all 7. So they focused on personalized student learning, professional development, infrastructure, and community partnerships. And so, with that, as a result of doing all of this, they were able to increase student engagement. And another big point was that they were actually able to be effective with the use of social media. So, the social media was actually able to help them, gain the attention of parents, and they were able to, have a presence on out there in the social media world, which we know everyone uses social media. So that was the Bristol Warren School District's case study, which is definitely something that exemplifies using the FRS tools. Now, as far as the implications of the FRS framework in my workplace, which is a non-public school, here's some things that I would say for my school, which is Concordia Lutheran, we should focus on. Definitely curriculum instruction and assessment. In that case, we definitely, these are some things that we're currently working on, but we knew coming into the new upcoming school year, we were lacking. So we began working on these things, is that we needed material that actually aligned with the standards and the goals of our school. Then personalized professional learning. We last school year, I think it was very laxy daisy on the professional development side. And many of the professional developments that we did have were not adequate or provided us with effective use of technology. Because remember, so many of us, we had virtual learning programs, and many of our teachers were not proficient in being a virtual teacher. So we didn't really truly provide much professional development, and we did definitely need that. Budget and resources. With being a non-public school, it's definitely important that we have ensure that we have the financial resources to support the purchase of additional devices, software, but also personnel to assist with all of those things. to make sure that our devices are managed, everything. So one person doing that is definitely a difficult task. It does require a team, and you definitely need to make sure you have the resources to back it all up. And then finally, another thing that I would say that we would need to focus on would be data and privacy. And we definitely have started that process because we did realize that one, our teachers weren't collecting any data. And then when they did collect data, they truly didn't know what to do with it and how they could actually use that data to assess and drive future instruction. So that was definitely something that I would say our framework would definitely focus in on. Hopefully, we'll be able to address all 7 areas. However, initially, I would say these 4 will be definitely 4 areas that we needed to focus on. So here is my references for today. I want to thank everyone for all of your attention, and I welcome any feedback, and have a great day.